All right, let's boom. You gotta give me a let's boom.
Oh yeah, let's boom.
Hey, there it is. And stay foolish, y'all.
Hello, hello, all those beautiful faces. How we doing? How we doing? Stephanie checking in with another episode of Class Disruption, disrupting the status quo of education. And I have a very special guest joining me today, Principal Amen Rahh, founding principal of the U University Pathways High School out in Los Angeles, California. And he has joined me to discuss the changing landscape of education and all of the amazing things that they're doing out there at the U to disrupt the education market. Super excited about that. But before we get into it, go ahead, like, comment, let us know what you're thinking, and definitely subscribe if you haven't already. And also share this page with any other educators you know, because that is, of course, what this is all about. Inspiring change, changing the education landscape, and taking ownership of our classrooms, because you know who has the power? It's teachers. All right, so let's get into it. And we're actually going to start things off with a clip from Gary Vee. Because if you know anything about me, you know I'm a huge Gary Vee fan. He just gets me pumped up, ready to go, that mindset. And so when I heard that he was talking about education, you know that I had to put in my own 2 cents as well. So let's get this clip going, see what he has to say. I'll give you my thoughts, and then we'll get Principal Rahh on here to let us know what he thinks about this.
Situation. In the macro, I think that education is a foregone conclusion of losing its leverage. I don't think we do anything. I think it's inevitably going to happen. I would argue that our kids' generation will be either the last or the first generation to not value the brand of college, that we're that close. I think, you know what people are very bad at? History. I mean, college is a very modern ROI. It's no different than venture capital or hedge funds. These things are not that old. Lots of things have 30-year runs, 70-year runs, 100-year runs. I think we have a very bad relationship with time, and we think our world is the world. And I think it's extremely flawed. I mean, it's becoming laughable. You're starting to as somebody who was a bad student and grew up in the 80s and 90s and was somebody who always shared ideas, you know, a lot of people first thought my views on education were predicated on me being a bad student. Sure, in some ways, it's very sad that I got no value from 6 to 18 being who I am. It's sad. I could be much further along in thoughts and hypotheses and productivity.
So I couldn't agree more with Gary in the macro sense of the education market, where the institutions are today versus what the world is more or less irrelevant, right? We're still in this mode of transferring information into kids' minds and testing them on that, when they can open up Google and there's that information right there, right? It is not about the information. It's not about memorizing. It's not about doing it in a certain way. I mean, you know, Gary, is undeniably a genius in his own right. And yet, as he pointed out, for the first 18 years of his life, he received very little value from the time where outside of his home, he spent the most time of his life. And I have the same experience from when I was in high school, not myself, but I saw my friends who I knew were smart. I mean, they didn't always act in the smartest ways, and admittedly, you know, they acted like jerks sometimes, and, you know, didn't always say the nicest thing to teachers, but that didn't mean we should label them as failures, right? We just needed to find the right ways to reach them. And I find myself today in that same predicament, where I have students in my class who they're not necessarily academic all-stars, yet I can see it come out of them in different ways, whether that's with their friends, or whether that's sketching on a piece of paper, or whether that's them going on and playing certain video games. I see something special in all of them, and yet I'm only allowed to measure a very small piece of this whole child. And if they don't have that small category of skills and interests, then they're a failure. Or maybe they can get by as a C and a D student, but that's not a reflection of who they are, and the system needs to do better. And somebody who is doing better is somebody who's become somebody who I've looked up to. I'm following now on Instagram and on Twitter, and he's just totally disrupting the notion of what it means to be a high school and what that experience is all about. So I want to bring him in here to give his own perspective on Gary Vee, who he's also a big fan of himself. So let's go ahead and get Principal Amen Rahh in here. All right. Welcome, Principal Rahh. But, I kind of know all about you because we've been following each other on Instagram, and, we're always going back and forth about different ideas, and you're always out there booming and just like so inspirational. But let the people know who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah. So I'm Amen Rahh, founder and principal of the University Pathways Public Service Academy right here, South Central LA, Watts area, just trying to revolutionize the game, revolutionize the educational experience, but not just students, but educators in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And, born and raised from the city, so the school is in the neighborhood in which I walked, and just it's just man, phenomenal.
Amazing.
It's been a real experience.
I bet. Yeah, it's all, and I always think, it's all about community and building a community, and it's just that much more authentic when that's where you're from.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and like your revolutionary style, what's up, my revolutionary people, I feel is like a lot like on that kind of wave that I'm on with like Class Disruption and Stay Foolish. Yeah. And so I'm just super happy that we're getting to connect like this.
Absolutely.
And, I've been thinking, I know you like Gary Vee and I like Gary Vee. And so I was listening to a Gary Vee clip, and I already played it for everybody, but I'll kind of recap of it. But he likes to think in the macro. So I thought, we start off in the macro, like on our Gary Vee, but then we'll get into that, micro daily, how do you be a teacher in this revolutionary way on a daily basis? But first in the macro, Gary Vee is talking about how education is basically losing its leverage. It's becoming irrelevant. And this generation is either going to be like the last to value it or the first not to value it, especially, moving on to college. But we're preparing our kids for, most of the time we say go to college, right? Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to know, like, what's your take on Gary Vee's perspective, and how do you see like the education market shifting over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. Gary, I just my entrepreneurial spirit. I really mess with Gary Vee, but also at the same context, like in regards of macro, in regards of college and school, because education not going nowhere. Like education in the sense of learning, like it's going to always exist, right? I think in regards of like that clip, it's talking about the idea in this school and college as the setting in which education takes place, right? And I think it's complex because, on one end, when you're talking about, this idea of college, there's a lot of people that's winning in life that didn't need to go that route. There's a lot of people winning in regards that didn't need that in regards to real estate. There's so many different avenues in regards of monetary gains or success, finding your hidden treasures and different things like that. However, the setting of college can save a lot of kids' lives. You know what I mean? Just because the social aspect of where some of the community which we come from, where like going out of state to go to a different setting to get away from that crab in the barrel type of mindset that sometimes our cities and our neighborhoods are infested with, it could save somebody's life. Like, I'm going to get to Arizona, I'm going to get to New York, I'm going to be in a different setting, which I can be free and find my hidden treasure. So in that aspect, I think that's the nuances that he didn't really want to get into, and talking about the macro, right?
Right.
I think he's right in a lot of aspects in regards of our public K through 12, I'm going to speak K through 12, we are really far behind when it comes to trying to get our students ready for what is going to be waiting for them, right? In regards of just technology, in regards of artificial intelligence, in regards of emotional intelligence, which he talked a lot about, and which I talk to a lot of educators about in regards to preparing students for the future of being like emotional regulation, and career and employers are looking for that, right? So, but you know, I agree. Like Gary Vee is right in regards.
He says, I think in that clip, he also says, like, it's a shame that somebody like him, who's obviously like a brilliant man, was basically not provided any type of valuable service or any value for those 18 years of his life. Yeah. And so I think that's kind of where we're talking about, right? Like the idea of education, those big concepts are always going to be there, but it's like, how are we executing it?
Yeah. And that execution is like, it is part of the process, like in regards to the school system. I think that's what he's really tying into in regards of like the setting. And in his school, and it really sucks for Gary Vee, like that, his school experience must have really been bad, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's sad to say that, but you know, not everybody has that same experience. You know, some people, their hidden treasures are, you know, appreciated when you're in the right setting with a right leader, with right teachers to say like, no, I see that entrepreneur in you right now, right? Like I can see that, and let's show you how to leverage that, you know. But also the system on a macro level isn't designed for everyone to be Gary Vee, right? Like everybody can't be that, you know, although the idea of it is great, but unfortunately our system is like on a macro economic level with this economic gap, right? Is not designed for everybody to be in that aspect. And it's still,
it's very much like kind of like that one size fit all. Like if you fall into this 50% here, or I guess like 60%, that is pretty average, then this is good for you. But again, you're right. Like we leave a lot of people out, and you know, over here, and even I'm sure chunks in the middle too. I know I feel that way too. Like every day as a teacher, I'm like, how can I best serve my kids? And even though I feel good about what I do, I definitely always am like, dang, like I should have spent more time with that kid.
Yeah, and spending more time with them, but like really dialing in on like, what do you really want to do? Right? Like what? I mean, I think I like Gary Vee of pushing us as educators and pushing just everybody of thinking like, what are we really trying to prepare our students for? Because you're right, like this whole brand of this, like, all right, go to college. Really what we're trying to say is like, we want you to get this education. We want you to find your hidden treasure or your passion, what you want to do and fulfill it, right? And I think now there with the internet, like everything is out there, right? Like,
and learning, everybody's learning everywhere.
Everybody's learning at like an exponential rate.
Yeah.
And now like the new age is like, we gotta teach those soft skills of like how are you like self-regulating, how are you like teaching yourself and having self-discipline, and like do you know your learning style so you can, it's like self-taught, because I believe also self-education, once you like open up a book and you're really excited and you dive into it, you learn more. When you like are passionate about something, you're going to research and knowing how to research, which is another skill that we don't really see, like how to research and using this fascinating thing. Like you learn so much, which is technically it's like college, you know, but college is just delivering this message in a really expensive way.
I was just having this like whole debate with because like I'm doing my next unit, and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, we need to learn about World War I, and I could probably like jam through this stuff, but like, I want to do something meaningful with it. I want to apply it in a meaningful way. I want them to learn some of these more technical skills like content creation and researching. So it's like, and I went with the skills over the content. So we'll see at the end of the day how it pans out.
No, it's deep, and I'm a firm believer though, like with that, and like disparities also are part of it, right? When you're talking about not just the economic gap, but the race in regards of how we are classing people in different ways in regards to college. Like in our area, I mean, we have 20% of African Americans in LA County, but when you look at our local colleges, it's only 4% that's going into these colleges, right? Like look at these disparities, and if we're saying still system where careers and colleges are still looking at degrees to not say like, hey, you're eligible, but just to kind of cast out people, then like that's why that message still is for like, or especially like our young people of color and coming from where I come from, that opportunity and the access to go to college should always be there, right? Like and I think like that's where I kind of have I differ with Gary Vee, is because we're talking still about an access thing too. When it comes to kids, it's like, all right, cool. I may not want to go to college, which is totally cool. Like I'm gonna win without going to college. However, the access should still be there.
Right. Just how do I go about, doing these other things? How do I go about taking on this entrepreneurial task or this other task that I'm trying to do? So why don't we kind of like narrow down our focus then, right? Because, we can talk all day about these big, huge problems and we could sit here and solve them all too, I'm sure. But, like on the day-to-day application, right? How do we go from this place where the system that's trying to give us the education we can generally agree is somewhat irrelevant? So how do we get it going from irrelevant to like revolutionary booming as just like a teacher or just a principal out here doing their thing?
I think it's just really having courage. And sometimes when you're trying to change the system, like, and challenge the status quo, sometimes you looked upon as the villain. Right? Like when you're trying to change something, and it's like you looking different. It's like, wait, what are you? Nah, they look at your side eye and you become this villain. But it's like, no, are you trying to change something? Because
what are you doing on social media?
What are you doing on social media? Why are you hashtagging boom? What is the boom? Why are you wearing the you hat that with the sweater? You're like, and sometimes you gotta just, not have no doubt and but trust the process. Like Nipsey said, I'm a big Nipsey fan. Like, you got to trust the process. And sometimes you'll have a vision that nobody else can see, right? And even as a teacher, you got to kind of believe in your vision for your classroom, believe in your skill set, and don't have doubt in it, and know you doing what's right, and you transforming and saving kids daily. And when you have that, and then if you can create this autonomy, have this autonomy and have somebody to believe in you and anchor down on it and allow you to win, and that's that revolutionary process. That's that courageous leadership. That's that courageous, just passionate teacher that just manifests. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so how do you think, because like I ask myself this too, like how do you think that we spread that passion? Because, or how is it possible to even like stir that up in other people? Or is it you just have to do your thing, and when fresh faces come, they'll see what you're doing?
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of many things, because I think some people authentically have it, right? They authentically like, man, I'm with it, but you kind of nervous. You kind of scared. You're like, you worried about what somebody gonna think, or you worried about like your job security, or you worried about whatever different factors, right?
I don't have tenure yet,
Yeah, I don't have tenure yet. I don't have this, and I'm just a firm believer. Everything happens for a reason. Ideally, you want to be smart. You want to be calculated on when you're making your move. You don't want to just come in like, hey, I'm doing. You know what I mean? You got to kind of navigate the system and understand, like, there's an evolutionary process and then a revolutionary process. Right?
Okay.
Like. The evolutionary is like, that's naturally gonna happen. So you need to come in and understand, like, it is a marathon, right? So you got to take your time, but as you go and there's levels to it, you can take a little step more. You can come out more. You can come out more. You can come out more in regards of like really making a significant impact.
Nice. So tell me about the evolution of your revolution. I mean, how did you get to having a school? And like, I just see you guys and you always look like you're having so much fun and just like, bonding, and people are really getting to get that like experience that is, dreamed about or like portrayed in movies.
I mean, I would say this, man, like the power of social media, you could create your own narrative. Right, like we got struggles like other schools, you know what I mean? Like we got this bullying cases. There's different things. I think the difference,
of course,
is like how relationships. We know our kids, and we are intentional about knowing our kids, and that makes it like really special and a magical place. Like we haven't really, 2 years we haven't had a fight. It's just amazing. Like a magical place with knowing kids. and when things come up, they talk. You know, they want this to be a safe place. But like my journey started, you know, I come from a family of educators. You know, I'm born and raised from Compton, and I always say it because it's like an honorary badge. Because when people hear Compton, they just think of Straight Outta Compton, the movie, or they think about, you know, just crazy, this craziness. And it's just like, you know what, there's so many special people that come from my city. There's so many honorable people that come from my city. So I say that with pride. But I come, you know, my mom and dad, both college educated, youngest of 6. And with that, being the youngest of 6, an educated family, I was still distracted from just the culture and just the move, just all these different things, from taking and doing stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. I fell into the stereotypes of wanting to be a rapper and a football player, you know, and then lost scholarships. And then I was always a motivating person. So I just need a job. And I was like, man, I'm about to just be a teacher assistant for a while, you know. I started to be a teacher assistant at a non-public school, you know. And luckily, you know, I always knew I was going to be in college, so I was in college, so I was fortunate. And then I was teaching a math class, and the teacher was sitting down. And I'm like, man, I'm like, man, we had a break. I'm like, man, how much you making, man? He's like, man, I'm making like $60,000. I'm like, I'm making $14 an hour. You know what I mean? I'm doing your job. Like, nah, man. So I'm like, my sister, she was like, man, you need to go take the CBES. I took the CBES, and I started substitute teaching. Then my sister was teaching. She was like, you need to come to our school, you know, because this is where Dad graduated from in Watts, you know. So I went on the interview, and I got my first teaching gig at a school that my father graduated from in Watts.
Amazing.
And spent some time there. I mean, I started teaching at 20. I was 21. So,
wow.
Right, boom, right? So 2021, and then next thing you know, 24, I'm the dean. It was like, boom, 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 bam, 20, I'm the dean. It was like, we like what you're doing in your classroom. We want you to be the dean over student behavior and success. So I'm doing that at the school. Like, my cousin's going to the school because it's family. And then after that, people heard about this. I was doing circles and stuff, but I was just doing it naturally. That's just how we break bread.
Right.
I ain't know nothing about restorative justice practices or something like that. And then I'm going to get my master's, and this lady came and see me doing it. And she was like, this is unheard of. This is crazy, because the school that I worked at was like a melting pot of like kids coming from different areas that was like rival gangs, you know what I'm saying? So to see them all working together, that's what got me published in this book called Restorative Practices Meet Social Justice.
Awesome.
So shortly after that, I became an assistant principal for about a year and a half. And then the district was opening up this school, and it was like, yo, we need somebody to write this proposal, get up into this, doing this. And they asked me, and I went on the interview. They was like, yeah, you the person. Then 6 months, I had to get the school together, write the logo, do everything, come up with everything. And then boom, that was the manifestation of the boom.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's the journey to opening up the U in like an elevator speech.
And so, and that's just like raw talent, basically, like no pun intended right there. That's raw talent. Because you went to grad school like after you already started like making a disruption up in there. And so do you feel like you actually got value from grad school?
You know what? Actually, I did. You know, I think, I got a lot of theory. Right, it's a lot of grad school theory. So I got 2 masters. I got masters in special education and a master's in education.
Okay.
So I think I had to practice, because I grew up in it. Like, I was that kid. The reason I resonate with Gary Vee, because I was that C.D. student. I was that student that was like, man, I don't see the relevance in school. This ain't what I'm about. I was intellectually, I was cool, but I was just lazy, because I was just like, why am I trying to learn quadratics? Like, what am I going to do with it?
Yep.
I mean, I didn't have no teacher that taught me the game. I didn't see nobody that had careers that looked like me, that came from where I came from. So I didn't have that critical hope to see anything else beyond rapping, football player. Then you looking at teachers at that time, it wasn't nobody. I didn't have no black male teachers either. So I'm like, I ain't about to be a teacher. And then doctors, that's like, man, that's too much school. Like that. That was just like the mindset
Yep.
at the age. So I'm like, I don't even know what I want to do. So I'm just trying to get a seed, trying to, just trying so my parents won't be mad, not because I cared about it. So to now get the theory from the grad school, because I understand how to connect with a kid that's similar to me,
Okay.
and try to make it like impactful and to try to make it relevant so you can see all the possibilities that I didn't get. Like I didn't get all that. So the grad school helped me say like, okay, this is how I can brand it. This is how I can do this.
Okay, but only because you feel like you already kind of knew what it was. See, like I went to
Like,
grad school and then I was in the classroom. So like it just like my whole time I'm in grad school, I was like, so like when do we do like this whole teaching thing?
gotcha.
But I could see how it works because right now I work with like teaching fellows, and for them I do feel like it's much more relevant because they're constantly like working and learning
Yep.
and I think I might learn more than them actually. They're constantly
Okay.
teaching me stuff all the time.
Yeah, I definitely, because I'm in a program and I'm working, right? That's how I was doing it. So I'm able to do both and just understand kids, and then because I was still fairly young, I'm 20 teaching middle school kids, 21 teaching middle school kids. I mean, some of us only got like 7 years between us, you know what I mean? So it was like,
Yeah.
like when I started off young, I'm 32 now, so it ain't like it's some crazy, like I got students 16, I know what's up. I know I've been there, done that, so let me teach you how to navigate this system. So now I had a theory behind me. Now it's like, okay, I know I could put this together, and
Awesome.
that happened.
All right, so where's this headed? Like I mean, sometimes I feel like I could see the future sometimes, when you sit and you imagine things. And
Yeah.
so like what are you visioning? What are you seeing coming to life?
You know what? I just see the you becoming just like ingrained in the DNA of the community, where it's just like it's just because I mean we still cubs on the block. We still
Right.
just infant. We haven't
You only
even
have 2 grades, right?
Yeah, we got 3 grades now, so we 9th,
Okay.
10th, and 11, and we haven't even hit 24 months of kids being at the U. So I just see, hopefully in our future, California Distinguished School. That's the gold standard of California schools. I would like for a school to be California Distinguished. That's a non-magnet school in our community. That's a high school, so I foresee that, and I just foresee just kids going and doing beautiful things. Like that's the whole mission in regards to the U, of just like showing people like this is not a private school. This is not no magnet school. This is a school where we getting our babies. We care about our babies. Yet like this state test in regards to the results, that's our adversary. We gonna work there, but our goal is our students to achieve self-actualization. You know what I'm saying?
And you don't need to look anywhere else but within what you already got.
Yeah. So that's kind of like our mission. That's what I see, and just putting the U on the map worldwide and letting people know like this is possible, and just trying to inspire people and just trying to better my craft and trying to like how can I always go out and change things, because as quickly as we're doing stuff within, we still light years behind society. Like I'm trying to push where we have mandatory coding for all our kids, like just different things like that at my school where we can always push the limits, because we're working with an attitude gap. I don't know if you're familiar with Principal Kayla, but like, although we're doing great things, a lot of my students been in the system for 10 years where they didn't have that type of love. They didn't have these type of like things going on. So now, they've been used to getting pushed out of school after school. Yeah, go home. And now we like, no, y'all stay here. Like, come on. Like, we're trying to get y'all moving. Like, we need y'all taking advantage of this program and taking advantage of that. And it's like, now they got to kind of
go reprogram the whole.
And that takes
time,
you know what I'm saying?
But you're doing an amazing job. I mean, I think that I'm just gonna book a trip, and make an excuse. I'm be like, oh yeah, like vacation, But I'm just gonna come out and go to school with you guys.
Man, we trying, man. We taking things and doing like the houses, the kinship, there's a lot of different stuff with the programming, because you gotta kind of do all that.
And I'm looking forward to your book, right? Because you got a book coming out.
Yeah, School Culture Revolutionized. So we're going to go through 6 principles of just school culture. I'm excited about it, and just going through the nitty gritty. It's crazy because, you write a book and then next thing you know, you start going with all these ideas. And I was like, dang, I already got my next book. And I'm not even
That's amazing.
I'm not even a writer like that. So I know, like, when I put this out and everything, I'm going to be telling all the homies and people and educators, like, look, I put out a book. y'all can do it too, like, can you imagine that? So taking time to just put that down. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited, but it's going to be
I got to
come out in June.
Well, I got to get my, commitment right now, early on. I want one of those like first interviews when it comes out. That pre-sale copy. Let me know. I'll grab it.
Yeah.
And
we'll have to reconnect. I gotta stay foolish.
Yes. That's what it's all about. Stay revolutionary. Stay foolish, and just keep, killing out here in the game. Those blinders on and doing our thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. What about you? What was your start?
For teaching?
Yeah.
So I always been like just really into education and education policy too. Like in my town growing up, when I was going from 5th grade to 6th grade, they did this whole big like redistricting thing. And like people went nuts over, where they were going. And basically what ended up happening was like my side of the town, I live on the east side, we had to get bused all the way across town to the north side. And it was all about like race and socioeconomic status. And like basically they needed like my side of town, which is generally more like diverse, has a larger like Hispanic population, and is a little like not as socioeconomically like high. And they bust us up to like go balance out the like rich white school.
Gotcha.
So it was just like, obviously I didn't know what was going on. I was like 10 years old and I'm like hearing all these things. But then I just saw, I should make a whole video on it actually, like my whole story. But I feel like really early on, I saw a lot of these like socioeconomic kind of like inequities. And like you said, people like to draw lines in certain places. And I had friends who got labeled as failures when I knew they were very smart people, but they like to fool around in school, and they were probably being jerks, but they shouldn't be labeled as failures and kicked out, So
absolutely. That's dope. Wow. So what are you at a high school or?
Yeah, I'm at a high school in the Bronx. So just trying to, again, like I'm a teacher right now. It's my 4th year. So I'm just trying to hone my craft of being the best teacher I can be. And at the same time, trying to build up some of my leadership skills and influence the culture of my school, but in a way where I'm not in any, leadership position. I'm just from my classroom trying to radiate the love.
Dope. And class disruption, disrupting the status quo. Man, that's where it's at, and that's what that's what connected us.
Y'all, I appreciate you so much. This has been amazing, and stay foolish, y'all.
All right, let's boom. You gotta give me a let's boom.
Oh yeah, let's boom.
Hey, there it is. Stay foolish, y'all.
Wow, I don't even have the words. What an amazing man. What amazing things that he's doing out there. And I should just use his words. Straight up revolutionary. Booming. Right? And that's what it's all about. It's not about sitting back and waiting for somebody to ask you. It's not about sitting back and waiting for approval. It's about going out there and doing what you know is right. And in the end, they gonna recognize the realness. I promise you that. So just get out there and do you and stay foolish, booming, all that. Make sure you follow Principal Rahh, look out for his book, and support his kids. All right? And you already know, if you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, leave your thoughts, your comments. We definitely want to know. What do you think about what Gary Vee said? right? Where do you think the future of education is headed over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And what are you doing right now with your kids to disrupt that status quo? All right, so let us know in those comments. Like, share with other educators. That's the most important thing you can do, is just share with other educators, because that's who it's all about. Inspiring them so that they can empower the students. All right, and until then, stay foolish, y'all.